two other guys said, we've already talked to these people. You're beating to have the same God that we have. I said, I don't know. Maybe someone's new or something, one new person or change of heart or something. I don't know. God wants our very best. That's 100%. So 49 out of 50 is 98%. So we're 100%. So I'm always going to give God my absolute best.
Welcome to When You Look, where ordinary people share their extraordinary experiences, and you get to decide, was it coincidence or God? Michael, thank you so much for joining us on When You Look. We're delighted to have you here.
Great to be here. I'm looking forward to our time together.
Yeah, awesome. Well, before we get into the story that you have to tell, because all of our guests share their stories here on When You Look, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, as you know, I'm Michael, and I'm married to Sharon, and we have 4 children. We have a 26-year-old daughter, Elisa, and she is from Latvia. And then we have a biological son named Brennan, and he's 25 years old. And then we have Sakina, who's 22 years old, and she's from Niger, Africa. And then we have Zalika, who is 19, and she's also from Niger, Africa. They're from the same orphanage. And so their birthdays are coming up. And so and by the time this airs, they'll be 23 and 20. So we'll have no more teenagers in the house, which will be cool. And I will be 60 years old in April, in a couple months, and a month. And I will be a grandfather, Brennan, and my daughter-in-law, I didn't introduce her, Katrina. So Brennan's married to Katrina, and they are having a baby, and I'll be a grandfather in July. So
very exciting.
Very, very exciting. I spent 31 years in the wealth management business and just sold that practice a couple of years ago. I opened a ministry, started a ministry 21 years ago called Effective Ministries, where our focus is on Niger, Africa, hence 2 of my daughters from there. And have been doing that for 21 years and will continue to do that. So my focus moving forward will be Niger, Africa, as it has been. And then my purpose plan, help people understand their purpose and empower them to live it out. And looking forward to lots of people living out their purpose, understanding why they were made, who they were made to be, and living that life. So it's pretty cool and exciting. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, thanks for sharing. We're glad to have you here. You were talking about Niger, Africa, the ministry there, Effective Ministries, and your story ends up taking place in Niger. So give us a little backstory and then walk us through the whole thing.
Sounds good. So this is 2023, July of 2023. We have a summer team going to Niger, and we have 23 people on that team. So it's a pretty large team. And we're there for 10 days. That includes travel, but 10 days. And having a great mission. Everything on the schedule, doing everything we planned on doing. And usually the last day we have a debrief and do things. We have a guest house there where we all stay. So the last day is pretty simple. So great mission. Did everything we went to do. Woke up that last morning and there was a coup the night before. A coup that needed to happen for the good of Niger. And but not so much for the good of the team because we couldn't leave that day. Literally, we're supposed to fly out that night. So it was a peaceful coup, and the town, everything was peaceful. Niger, Niamey, Niger, we were staying, the capital was peaceful, but we also needed to stay at the guest house. So here we are, not leaving that evening, and what's next? So, and you have 23 people, a pretty young team too, by the way. I mean, we had teenagers, there, without their parents, and it's the end of July. 3 of them getting ready to go to college in 3 weeks. So there's all kinds of, how long are we here for? Anyways, nobody knew that answer. And so we just went one day at a time, and pretty cool. We woke up every morning and did this exercise. We just wrote all these things down to God that might have been frustrating because we weren't home. We were all having a phenomenal time, but everybody wanted to be home. And then we ripped that up and did some really cool stuff together. and went to the store. A couple guys went to the store and bought M&Ms and popcorn, and we watched movies and had Olympics. We got these games and had a Taekwondo teacher come in. We had a great 7 days. I mean, just a great time. So part of those in those 7 days where they're having a great time, I'm also out with our leaders on the ground, finding our, way to leave because the airport was closed. All the borders closed. So how do you leave? And so that's a big question, right? So anyways, each day we're looking for different possible options and just, a closed door and a closed door and a closed door. You get to day 5, you're thinking, okay, got some closed doors. And, every morning people wake up and we're having a great time together. But after 5 days, you're a little more ready to get home. And so day 7 comes, and I'm with our leaders, Dem and Edouard over there. And I said, let's just, let's go and to the embassy and the U.S. embassy there and try to see what's happening, see if they're going to do a flight. The Italians had just done a flight, and the Swedes just did a flight. So maybe United States. And the leaders had said, well, we went to the airport earlier this morning because the French are going to do a flight today, multiple flights, like 4 flights. And I said, well, why can't we get on one of their flights? Because the United States were definitely in slow mode, and which is fine because they did, there wasn't problems. We felt there's no risk for us. There wasn't like anything. It was peaceful. And so we went to the embassy and they were like, yeah, we don't know, we don't know anything right now. I'm thinking, I don't know is not a good answer to take back to 23 people after 7 days. So I didn't like that answer.
That was 10 plus 7, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, plus 7. Yeah, we're day 17. Oh, yeah, we're day 17. With the expectation of 10. So we are coming back from the embassy, and I said, why don't we go to the airport and see if we can get on one of these French flights. And Adam and Edouard, the 2 leaders, said we were already there just recently before we came and picked you up to take you to the embassy. We already went there, and we spoke to everybody there, and there's no openings. They're booked up with the French leaving. So we were driving, and I said, hey, stop the car. And they're like, for what? I said, just stop the car. I mean, we're 5 minutes away from getting back to the Link Outreach Center, our guest house where we're staying. And I don't want to walk in there and tell them, hey, day 7 and I have new, see what day 8 brings. I don't want to go do that. They're doing some of the Taekwondo again, and we're not going back. I'm not going there. Let's go back to the airport. I said, no, we were just at the airport. I said, let's go back to the airport. Maybe different shifts, different people. I don't know. Let's go back to the airport.
Yeah.
I want to go anywhere but go to the guest house. So they said, okay. So I went to the airport, and there must have been, I don't know, 50 plus French army people there. And that's how the flights were being administered because the airport was closed, and they would, check people in. And I mean, they were, armed. I mean, it was for the French. And so, went and asked, hey, can I talk to you? Can I help? No. And we get to the last 3. So we're person number roughly 48, 49, and 50. I mean, it's like, no, can't talk to you, can't help you, no. And got to the end, and just said, hey, can you listen to us? We're here, we're stuck. We have 23 people, and this one guy, really dusty there, so you can't really see his face because he has, one of those like COVID type masks, and he has and he just started to show interest. He pulls his mask down and said, do you have kids with you? And I said, oh yeah, we have half the team's kids. He said, so you have kids here that are stuck here? And I said, yeah. And the other 2 were like, see you later, like 1 right out of the 50. And I mean, he just really, we just had his heart, right? Or maybe better saying, God got his heart for us. So he asked all these questions. I told him, and I did tell the folks when I left. I said, just know if I can find anything any day, right? They knew this, that I may call you, and be ready. And so,
that was your team, your mission team.
They knew right. But they knew, after 7 days now, they're like, okay, you'll probably, something out. Maybe it's an airline ticket for tomorrow or something.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so this guy was like, how many people? I said 23. And you could see in his eyes, 23. And he said, please get him here. I've got to get you guys on this flight. So I need you guys to go get them right now. So I'm like, whoa. I think better yet, he said, I'm going to try to get you on this flight. He did say try. So we get back in the van. We're 20 minutes away from getting back to the guest house. And I said, guys, in 20 minutes, pack your bags and be on the front porch. 20 minutes. And
that was a phone call you made, it sounds like.
Yep. So we get there, get in the vehicle. We have a bus, couple of vehicles, and they get in there. We get to the airport, and there are all these other people waiting that are non-French people. The line is as long as you can be. And he says, get in here. I was like, but the people, they're waiting in line. He said, no, I want you in the queue at the front. So he puts 23 people. It's one thing if 2 or 3 people get in there, but 23 people in the front of the queue, everybody on the line is like, what's happening? I'm like, what's happening? Yeah. So I'm like, doing something crazy. So we're in the front of the queue. He says, listen, I don't know if we're going to have room on this flight, but I've got you as close as I can get you. So then they feed us, which is even crazier. They gave us food because they knew we just rushed to get there, and they feed us. And, if people need to go to the bathroom, take them, a couple at a time to go to the airport. And we're waiting out there for a couple hours. And then he says, come on through. And we show our passports and we got on this flight. And the reason we could get on there was a cargo plane. So the back half of it had seats and the front half of it was just open. And they had these belts, these ropes they tied from one side to the other. And then some of us sat in the back, but all the adults sat in the front. And we literally, our seat was sitting on the floor with our legs underneath a rope, and we're flying to Chad. So we fly to Chad and stay over there at their military base, the French military base in Chad. And we stay there overnight. And then we go to France the next day and to get our flight from France back home. Well, when we were in Niger, the U.S. was contemplating day 7 when we saw them. They were contemplating a flight, but they didn't know when. And they said it could be a while. They don't know even or if. But we need you to fill out some promissory notes, so you'll be first in line. You got to have these done. So we fill out 23 promissory notes for $2,017 a piece. And I'm thinking, man, come on, you should just take us out. And I learned from a friend of mine that the U.S. was the only country that did this. So I'm thinking, this is $46,000 that we don't have. Like we don't have that, right? Yeah. We've already stayed 7 extra days, and we have to feed the team and all that. I mean, they're not going to pay. I'm not going to ask them for that. So we're already $23,000 on extra cost. I don't know where that's going to come from. To put another 46 on top of that would be crazy. 23 is crazy. So anyways, when when I'm finding out with the French, I'm like, so how do we pay for, how does this work? And they were like, no, you don't pay for this.
Wow.
We just take you out. I'm thinking, that's crazy. So anyways, when we get to France, they have 3 people, the 23 on a different flight. I went, that will not work. Well, not. Actually, we had 2 different flights. We had 3 people on a whole nother flight, the next day. I was like, no. I am not walking into 23 families or the families represented there and say, your kid come back tomorrow. No. What is it? They said, well, we'll sell you 3 tickets on this flight for $3,000 a piece. I said, that's robbery. From France home for $3,000 one way, I'll pay it. To another $10,000. We're $33,000 more. I'm thinking, this is nuts. This is nuts. Anyways, so when we get back home, we talked to the travel agent. She says, because France took you that first leg, that you have 23 tickets that were unused to get from Niger to France, and our refund was basically $33,000.
Oh, that's so good.
God covered went away from to cover the cost of all, even to get us out. When we were sitting on the side of the road, I told the 2 guys, let's go back. And they said, well, we've already been to the airport. I said, God's got it. We just got to do our best. And our best is to go back again. So let's just go back again. We got to give him that chance, and he'll take care of it. He's got it. So pretty cool. That's the story.
Wow. Oh, Michael, so much there. Thank you for sharing that. Just take us back to the you're running down this row of people. You're thinking there's 50 or so military people there. Everybody keeps saying no. How come after we'll say 3 strikes, you didn't give up? How come after 23 strikes, you didn't give up? And you get to 48, 49, and 50, and one of those 3 says yes.
It's even worse than that in some ways, because the 2 other guys said, we've already talked to these people. You're beating them down the same job that we have. I said, I don't know. Maybe someone's new or something, one new person or change of heart or something. I don't know. Yeah, I said earlier, God wants our very best. That's 100%. So 49 out of 50 is 98%. So we're 100%. So I'm always going to give God my absolute best. And I'm never going to doubt what he can do. Never going to doubt. Because with his perspective, it would be like, why would you stop after 3 or 5 or 10? There's 50 here, and I've given you 50 to talk to. So I just try to take his perspective, and I'll just not want to give up. I know if you stay in the game long enough, you see things that most people never get the chance to see. And I remember this one person telling me, this orphanage, he said, I prayed for 12 years for my kids to be able to go to a Christian private school. And then we started this thing in Niger, Africa called Live 1024, where we help partner ministries become more successful. And that was our second partner ministry. And we said, what do you need? He said, I need my kids to go to school. And I remember on my phone, 22 of the kids that could go to school, I got 22 stamped, paid, that we scholarshiped. And my point to that is he prayed from 1999 to 2011. He prayed for 12 years. He stayed in the game, and he saw something most people would miss. So it's the same thing here. I'm going to stay in the game until I talk to all 50. Quite frankly, if there's a son that didn't say no strong enough, I'd go back to them. But I'm going to stay in the game until the very, very end, because then you'll see things that most people miss because they don't stay in the game. They leave too early.
Yeah. Praise God. What a great story. Well, we ask all guests the same questions at the end, so let's land this one, if you will, with those 2 questions. So, was this coincidence or God, Michael?
Completely God. Nope. Yeah, it's one or the other, and it's always God. There are no coincidences. It's all God's plan. He created this world. He created us. It's his plan. So there isn't a coincidence ever.
Very nice. And then tell us about the impact that this has had on you, or how has this perhaps changed life for you in any way?
Yeah, just always expect God to do crazy things and impossible things. And so he yet did again. He does over and over and over. So I think for me, it just took me deeper into the impossible, deeper into the unknown. I used to always say I was comfortable in the unknown, and then I loved being the unknown. I think because of all these stories, this one being one of them, I thrive in the unknown. And so that's what's happened in my life because of this and many other stories, is that the unknown is just you have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, this couldn't be more unknown. And I just know he's going to take care of it. I just got to do my best. Right. So for me, it's just helped me to go from loving being in the unknown to thriving being the unknown. Just know he wants us there. And so that's how it's continually impacted and changed my life, that I get to hang out with a really crazy God for the good, if you give him a chance to be crazy. But that takes you to be crazy, because he works in and through people's yeses. So, I mean, I got to do my part. I mean, yeah. So.
sharing that whole story. I think it'll be a blessing to many that hear it. Pleasure having you on. Thanks a bunch. Look forward to catching up at another time soon for one of the many stories that you've referenced as well. So thanks again for coming on When You Look. Glad to have you.
Great being here. Thanks for having me.
Was it coincidence or God? You decide for yourself, but I believe you just heard a story for His glory. When You Look is powered by stories just like this, and yours could be next. Go to whenyoulook.com/be-a-guest or use the link in the description below. Drop us a comment and share this episode with somebody that needs it. Until next time, thanks a bunch for listening and watching, and God bless.